Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the organizational meeting of the Community Services Associates, Inc. Board of Directors, Tuesday, January 12th. I apologize for the slightly late delay. That was my fault. We do have a quorum, and so we will move forward with our business. The first order of business is to announce and welcome our newly elected Class A and Class B board members. Bill Johnson has been reelected to a 3-year term. Welcome again, Bill. Charlie Meyer has returned for a 3-minor term. Welcome, Charlie. And Greg Thompson has joined us for his first 3-year term. Greg, welcome, and thank you all three for running, for taking the time to run and to give us the service. Also, Don Sigmund has been reelected to another 3-year term as the Class B director. Welcome, Don, and thank you again for your service. I'd also like to recognize the service of those board members who are not returning. J.R. Richardson has served 6 years admirably and terrifically and has been a great help on particularly the MEMP committee. And we appreciate his service and thank him for his 6 years. And Stu Rodman is also not returning after 3 years on the board. Stu served provided great advice and assistance with the Government Liaison Committee, as well as strategic planning, and served as our vice chair at one point. Treasurer. So we thank Stu for his service. Thank you all, and again, welcome aboard those who are new. The next order of business is the nomination and election of officers this year. As I indicated to you in a memo, Mark Griffith, our past chairman, would normally be here to announce a slate of officers that were nominated by a nominating committee that met. Mark has sent you a report which indicates that Mark reached out to all of the board members seeking their advice as to who they thought would best serve on the roles of our officers. The nominating committee met with Mark and has come up with a slate of officers, which I'm pleased to announce as follows. For chairman, Larry Mufshin. For vice chairman, Jim Caskey. For secretary, Carolyn Adams. And for treasurer, David Borghese. So that slate is now put before the board. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll move that slate. All in favor of electing that slate of officers, please raise your hands. Opposed? Thank you all, and I know all of us on the board of the officers, the executive committee, all thank you for your confidence in giving us another year to serve. The next item is the nomination of a member at large to the executive committee. The nominating committee recommended Don Sigmund as the member at large. I accept with great pleasure that recommendation, and so I am going to appoint Don Sigmund as our member at large. Don, I assume you will accept that appointment. Good, thank you. So that our executive committee therefore is now in place, and we again, I want to thank on behalf of all of us your confidence in allowing us to serve for another year. Thank you on that. I'm now going to go through the list of committee chairs. I have asked several people to change committee chairs, and I've also appointed new committee chairs, and I'm going to indicate who they are now. On the Communications Committee, David Ellis will continue to serve. Finance Committee, David Borghese will continue to serve as chairman. On the Gate Entry Committee, Carrie Corbett will continue to serve as chair with Bill Johnson as vice chair. On the Governance Committee, Jim Caskey will serve as chair, and I've asked Greg Thompson to serve as vice chair. On the Major Maintenance, Enhancements, and Major Projects Committee, Barry Barth will serve as chair. On the Safety and Security Committee, Bill Johnson will serve as chair. On Short-Term Rental Committee, David Ellis will now serve as chair. And on the Strategic Planning Committee, David Pardue will serve as chair. So those are our committee chairs. In addition, I've gone through the list. We were lucky enough to have 14 applicants for committee, non-board committee participation. I truly wish we had more. And for those, if anyone who's watching today or who may watch this video can hear me, I hope you will think in the future. And even now of serving on the boards, we have a few committees that don't have the maximum complement of 9 non-board members. And we invite that participation. It's an opportunity for folks to get involved in the community, to let their voices be known in actual participation in community work, as opposed to through social media, where it's far less effective. So we do have some opportunities. I'm going to go through so that we can appoint the non-board members of these committees to today, so that the committees can start working immediately, and our next set of meetings would start at the end of January. So on the Communications Committee, the non-board members will be Barbara Ernie, Angela Pedraza, Michael Wolf, and Mary Jo Weber. On the Finance Committee, the non-board members will be Ann Esposito, John Fahrenkorf, David Herskovitz, Leanne Leahy, John McInerney, Andrea Tarbox, Keith Burns, Peter Dantis, Rob Weber. On the Gate Entry Committee, the non-board members will be Andrea Bragg, Paul Crumpleton, Jennifer Erickson, David Grancy, Edmund Hafer, I apologize, Ron Thomas, Ed Warner, Jamie Furr, and Carrie DeVillette. On the Governance Committee, the non-board members will be Alex Cruden, David Erickson, Jane Marie Gagan, Lee Stevens, George Swayasink, Jack Ward, and Val Thorne. On the Land Use Committee, the non-board members will be Alex Cruden, Chuck Kotler, Martha Mustard, Kathy Rash, Lee Stevens, Jonathan Sewer, and Karen Gay. On the MEMP Committee, the non-board members will be Steve Alford, Rich Denny, Bob Hottie, Becky Pardue, John Parsons, Fritz Smith, Ron Thomas, Bill Pender, and Tom Sharp. On Safety and Security, the non-board members will be Steve Alfred, Bob Crawford, Paul Crunkleton, Nancy Eldridge, Felice Lamarca, Margaret Tomzak, Jim Cantalupo, Derek Jenkins. On short-term rental, the non-board members will be Carrie DeVillette, Paula Eagle, John Hall, Jim Hemmings, John Monroe, Beverly Sorrell, and Amy Barnes. And on strategic planning, the non-board members will be Ann Esposito, Jeff Gill, David Herskovitz, Tom Lennox, John Parsons, Paula Scanlon, Jack Ward, and Bob Quinn. You all will get lists of these printed up to you. Sandra and I went through them last night, and we'll get them out to you today. I need a motion to approve those memberships. Well, first, I need a motion first to approve those memberships. Do I have a motion? Jim Caskey moves, seconded by Barry Barth. Are there any questions or concerns?
Yeah.
Tim?
Just on the Governance Committee, Larry, subsequently, Jack Ward expressed his interest not to continue serving.
Okay.
So that will be a vacancy, just to correct the list.
Thank you. So Jack Ward will not be. Thank you, Jim. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of allowing these non-board members to serve on these board committees, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Board members, I didn't include your names as members of committees. As board members, you're entitled to serve on any committees you'd like. Many of you are already on committees, and the list will include those who have previously served. If you don't want to serve, please let your committee chairman know. And if you want to serve on a committee you haven't previously served on, also let your committee chair know. But mostly just in terms of maintaining some order and knowing how many are on and where. But I encourage all board members to take the time to serve on committees. It is a great way to know what's going on during the course of committee work, as opposed to just at the board meetings. I will tell you, as chairman this year, I sat in on every committee meeting that I could and learned an awful lot about what was going on that as a pure board member I had not previously learned. Charlie?
Quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you're on.
The list of non-board members that you had, is that everybody, or was nobody was excluded?
No one who applied for a committee was excluded. No one who filed
Okay.
an application was excluded. And we actually have had a couple of folks in response to my letter Friday noting the fact that we were including everyone and using Zoom made it easier for non-residents. I've had 2 other people who may want to apply, and we'll put them on a committee. We have room on 3, 4, or 5 committees for up to 2 more members.
Just want to make sure it was all the people who said they wanted to be on.
Yes,
Got it.
everyone did. I'm very pleased about that. Dave Borghese?
Do we have a committee chair for the Land Use Management Committee?
We do not yet, but I'm going to discuss that with various folks, and hopefully by the time we have our next board meeting, we will have a committee chair.
Okay, thank you.
Co-chair.
And Larry,
Yes, Jim?
just as we know, we passed at the end of the year the new rotation model for the committees. So the suggestion is if you take, as chairs, if we take our committees and just identify within the roster people to serve 1-year, 2-year term, and 3-year terms, so it's evenly divided. And that way we will start the natural rotation. So ultimately, by probably the end of 2022, we will be rotating 1/3 of our committees, which will allow constant rejuvenation and new blood to be coming in, and also not loss of people with experience and historical perspective on the committee. So we can assist anybody who has questions about how to do that, but it's very simple. Just divide your committee 1 term, 2 term, 1 year, 2, and 3. If you have 9, it's 3, 3, 3, and then we're off and running.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that reminder. I'm leaving to each committee chair to make those designations as you go through, so that by the time your committee first gets together, those will know what their terms are. And as I understand, the new bylaw allows those who are serving 1-year terms to be renominated. You can't serve more than 6 years in any event. Okay, moving on then, we have a revised schedule of meetings. Sandra, were you able to distribute that yet?
Yes, Larry, it was sent out last night.
Okay, so you'll note on the revised meetings, I'd like to get the board together more regularly. We're also going to restructure the board meetings so that they will be primarily staff reports and committee reports only where a committee has a specific action item, so that we won't be duplicating and lengthening the meetings with staff reports followed by long committee reports. So if your committee actually has an action item for the board to take up, you'll be included to make that recommendation. And then the staffs will be reporting on a regular basis at our board meetings to us. That does put a little bit more involvement of the committee chairs as your committees meet. If there's something that the committee is doing that should be of interest to the community, I strongly encourage you to include that to the staff in the community report, the weekly report. So for example, if the safety and security is studying e-bikes, and I just use that as an example, not because you are, but if you were to be studying e-bikes, and we're hoping to hear from the community some thoughts, one way to do that would be after the meeting at which e-bikes were discussed and on a path towards some action, to note in the next committee meeting that a report from the safety and security chair of the committee's meeting. In addition, so that's one thing we're doing in terms of the board meetings. In addition, we're going to ask the committees to have administrative work of the committee done by a committee member, so that instead of burdening one of our CSA staff to take minutes to put together an agenda, we're going to ask the committee chairs to put together their own agendas and send them to Sandra for analysis and review and putting them out to the committee. And we will ask the committee chairs to appoint a secretary who will then take minutes and complete the minutes and file them for approval the next meeting. This will reduce the burden on the staff in a way that we're trying to do to make their time more efficient. And since we're all adults and more than capable of taking minutes, and as committee chairs, you're certainly capable of putting your agendas together, we're going to try that at least for the first 6 months and see if it works. So with that, you will also note that I've added a meeting at the end of January. January 27th, there'll be a board meeting. So please put that on your calendars so that we can take up all of the encroachments and other actions that we haven't been together for actual activity since late November for an official board meeting. We'll take all those up, and then we'll have staff reports for our opening year, January year, and year-end reports for what they've done. So that's the other thing that I want to note on the committee meeting schedule. Is there any other thing to come before the business of the meeting? If not, before we leave, I want to remind anyone who, I'm sorry, Barry? You're still on mute, Barry. Barry, you're still on mute.
Okay, sorry. Is it best for us to have a common form in terms of the agenda for, for future use, or do we just kind of create our own?
I would urge you to take Sandra will certainly provide each of you the most recent agenda from your board meeting or your committee meeting. And I would urge you to use that. And in terms of the minutes, similarly, if you look back at the most recent minutes that were put together by your staff support, that would be a good way to do it. Alex Cruden of the Land Use Management Committee has been doing their minutes, and he understands that there's a very simple form that's been dictated by our lawyers as to what the committee minutes should look like. They're not lengthy. They're fairly short and concise. We talked about this. A motion was made, motion seconded by so-and-so, very much like our board meetings minutes, but they're not detailed, which is another reason why I think they can be handled by a member of our committee. Yes, Sandra will provide each of the committees for the first go round, the last agenda and the last minutes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Before I leave, I want to remind anyone listening. Yes?
Sandra has something.
Larry, just for the date of the board meeting in January, if we're holding it on the Tuesday, that would be the 26th.
I'm sorry. Thank you. 26th. Thank you. Calendars and I have never been particularly friendly, as we know by the fact that I was a little late today. Before I leave, I want anyone who's listening to remember that we are in the middle of the balloting for our infrastructure referendum. I think it's safe to say that many of us feel have had very positive comments from the community, which gives us some level of optimism that we're moving in the right direction. But the voting isn't over until the voting's over. So I urge anyone who has not sent in their ballot, please do so. The most important thing is to have this referendum passed, but it's equally important for the number of ballots returned to be very high so that we have a strong feeling for what the community's thoughts are on this referendum. I'd much prefer to win it with 4,000 votes than to win it with 2,000 votes. So we know that a huge majority of our community expressed their interest and expressed it favorably. So if you haven't already sent in your ballot, please do so as soon as possible. The deadline for doing so is a postmark of January 20th. And so you still have time to do it. If you're paying your bills on Friday and it's in your bills, send it in. If you're home on Martin Luther King's birthday and you have nothing to do, go through your mail and send it in. So I appreciate anyone who hasn't done so, please do so. And lastly, I just want to make one note. I regularly review or watch what's going on social media, and I'm always amazed at how many people ask questions on social media that can be just as easily asked if they would just send it to info@csacpines.com or send it directly to me, chairman@csacpines.com. You'll get a factual answer. You won't get 25 people speculating on what the answer might be. I know social media is a valuable tool, but we've also seen last Wednesday how dangerous it can be in spreading misinformation. And so I urge those who have questions for us, we are happy to answer them, and we will answer them quickly. That's the best way to get a fact-based answer. With that, if there's no other matters to come before the meeting, Sam, anything else?
No, sir, nothing from staff.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Any second? I got a second. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Stephen, we're adjourned.